Edward G. Robinson, Glenda Farrell, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. Feature in Mervyn LeRoy's criminal drama Little Caesar, which is released by Warner Brothers. In the movie, a hoodlum rises through the ranks of organized crime until he reaches the top levels. The plot was derived from William R. Burnett's book of the same name. Robinson's breakthrough performance in Little Caesar catapulted him to stardom. The movie is consistently praised by critics and is frequently cited as one of the earliest full-fledged gangster pictures. Enjoy the time in memory. Small-time Italian-American crooks Joe Massara, played by Douglas Fairbanks Jr., and Cesar Enrico Rico Bandello, played by Edward G. Robinson, go from New York to Chicago in search of success. Joe wants to be a dancer, while Rico joins the crew of Sam Vittori, played by Stanley Fields. At the neighborhood taxi dance club, Olga, played by Glenda Farrell, becomes his dance partner and sweetheart. Joe makes an effort to distance himself from the gang and its operations, such as operating many speakeasies and illicit casinos, but Rico, whom the group now refers to as Little Caesar, forces him to take part in the heist of the nightclub where he works. Joe, who was there during the robbery, watched in horror as Rico shot and killed crusading police crime commissioner Alvin McClure in defiance of orders from underworld leader Big Boy Sidney Blackmer to all of his men to avoid violence. Sam is accused by Rico of softening up and taking over his company. Despite attempts to have Rico assassinated by rival boss Little Arnie Stork, Maurice Black, Rico only receives a minor wound from a drive-by shooting. Little Arnie is visited by Rico and his assailants, after which Arnie immediately heads to Detroit. Rico eventually gains control over the entire north side of Chicago from the Big Boy. After a few months, Rico starts to worry that Joe knows too much about him. He cautions Joe to put Olga aside and join him in a life of crime. Joe refuses to cave when Rico threatens to kill both Olga and Joe if he doesn't. Just before Rico and his goon Otero, George E. Stone, arrive at the door, Olga calls Police Sergeant Flaherty to let him know Joe is ready to talk. Rico is shocked to discover that he is unable to kill his pal. Rico wrestles the gun away from Otero as he tries to finish the job on his own, but not before Joe gets hurt. After hearing the gunshot, Flaherty and another officer pursue Otero and murder him. Using the details Joe supplied, Rico retreats to the gutter from where he emerged, desperate and alone. He hears that Flaherty called him a coward in the media a few weeks later, while he is hiding in a flop house, and he explodes. He naively calls the police to let them know he is coming for them. Rico is in the phone booth when the call is traced to her. He flees the authorities and hides behind a huge billboard. Flaherty personally fires a Tommy gun at the billboard in defiance of the authorities. Ironically, the billboard features dancers Joe and Olga in an advertisement. As they circle the billboard, the cops come across Rico lying on the ground, gasping for air and asking, "Mother of mercy. Is this the end of Rico?" A number of popular gangster movies, many of which were also produced by Warner Brothers, were also produced as a result of the movie's box office success. Because it was made during the Great Depression, Mervyn LeRoy's Little Caesar served as an allegory of the production circumstances, and the demands of social conformity in the early 1930s mean that LeRoy's screen classic is much more than the simple sum of its parts. It is listed in the film reference book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Thank you for watching.